This week in gaming, Switch 2 images allegedly leak. The PS6 is a thing, and Bungie keeps disappointing PlayStation. This is the Nerd Cave News, and I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined by, in a small town at the base of a mountain, a powerful dragon stood over the watch over a small town. His obsidian scales gleamed, and his ember eyes scanned the skies for any sign of danger. When earthquakes shook or storms threatened to flood the town, the dragon leapt into action. With the mighty flap of his wings, he diverted raging winds and redirected rivers of molten lava with his fiery breath. The town knew that as long as the dragon guarded them, no natural disaster would ever bring their home to ruin. This dragon's name was Kazamar.
You know, I will give it to Amy. This was S+ tier exposition. Like that, it was very detailed. It was creative. It fleshed out my character. That was it was better than S tier. It was S+ tier.
Ooh.
And the name actually sucked the landing too. Now I have to see where it reaches. And I have to say, it's pounding on the door of that top three.
Bro.
But I have to say it's just short. I'm going to have to put that at number 4 and dethrone Maxwell, Mindreach, Stone, and Nightshade out of the top 5. Well,
wow.
Nightshade out of the top 5 and put Maxwell, Mindreach at number 5.
Wow. Got a new number. What was it?
4.
New number 4, guys. Welcome to the Nerd Cave News. This episode is brought to you by the Epic Games Store, where you can support us by using creator code NerdCave at checkout, and our wonderful patrons, but more about that later. Getting an echo on Derek.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Hold on.
I heard my name.
Hold on. I'm having to do something slightly different tonight. So, all right, Derek, now talk.
Hello. All right, no echo from at least on my end.
All right, awesome. Had to do a little mix minus in the background of the routing. The mixer beforehand was like, "Hey, I'm not going to work the way you want me to."
I know.
I'm like,
I jump on StreamYard and Zach's just like a mime, just talking, but I hear no sound, and I'm just like, okay.
It's probably a good day for you because I'm not making fun of you at that point.
Oh, you probably well, no, that just make you upset because you were wasting your insults and I wasn't listening.
No, I was definitely like in the mode of I've got to fix this. What the crap's going on?
Yeah.
So my mind power, even the minuscule mind power I put towards throwing insults at you, Derek, they're creative, but it's only like 1% of my power. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to see 100%.
All right, Mob Psycho, calm down.
You wouldn't want to see 100%. But guys, welcome to the stream. We hope that you're doing well. Make sure to let us know how you are down in the comments below, and like and share. You are our only marketing for the show. So make sure you make sure you share it with somebody. Go over to the podcast gods. Give us 5 stars. If it's not 5 stars, like my mama always used to say, if you don't got nothing good to say, don't say it at all. So don't be a troglodyte, as Derek would call you. All right. Yep. So go over there and show us some love. Derek, it's time to talk about some Astrobot, because you joined in on the stream Tuesday night. We're playing Astrobot. You went over on TikTok and was watching there. I know you've been playing a little bit more than me. And guys, we want to hear your thoughts too. What you've been playing? I already know what you've been playing, but
Yeah. So I'm in the last galaxy of the game. You're not that far behind me. You are in. You just finished World 3, at least the little bit I saw before I had to go to work. And you played the Uncharted world. Like,
yep.
I really enjoyed the Uncharted world. But it still doesn't compared to the God of War, it still pales in comparison. I won't spoil the world the epilogue world you get at the end of Galaxy 4. Um, I'll just say this: it is underwhelming, but it's also cool. It's still cool from a gameplay perspective, but it is underwhelming as far as like the icon they use, like the PlayStation property they used. So just think small is all I'm going to say.
Think small.
Yeah, like smaller game title.
That's giving me like, is it a?
I'm not going to tell you. Just play for yourself, sir.
Okay.
So, like, I want you to go. I don't want you to go in, and then it ruins your opinion. You know, with an opinion already ruined. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So, like I said, the gameplay mechanics are still cool. I don't know. I didn't really care for the franchise world that they chose. But it means that we potentially get a bigger property for the last one if it's the one I'm thinking.
I'm like, I was impressed with what we got for
Uncharted.
Definitely God of War. Like God of War was awesome to see. I'm trying to get to a spot on my playthrough. Okay, here we go. Because there was a really cool thing that was happening with the cards, which we'll see here in just a second. But
the casino world, dude, that was great.
This is probably my favorite level other than God of War.
Right.
Out of the whole game. Like, it is so good, especially the cards that are about to happen. Like, the way they interact and everything, and like how you have to jump from one to the next to get up to the enemy. Like, this game is so well done, dude. Like,
it is.
It just blows my mind what they're able to do. And like, you're cutting through the cards. I don't know if you saw that with the jump pack, you cut through the cards and everything, but like this one was so interesting in the dart boards and all of that. Like,
definitely the most original creative level that they did in this game.
Yeah, and then you get the like Iron Giant level and everything, which I thought was really cool. It was a smaller level, but I loved the umbrella.
Yes.
Like, so cute. And I know I was going in and
rusting.
Yeah, exactly. But you're swimming through water, so
right.
But there was a point where you go through like a little cave thing or whatever over here, and the umbrella will collapse down and then come back up when you go back out in the rain.
Right.
It's the attention to detail.
The little things.
Yeah. And that is just 100% how this game works, is the attention to detail is so far above anything else. I didn't die there. That wasn't me dying there. But yeah, I'm loving it, and I can't wait to see what the next big one is. I was watching somebody do like the essentially the full like sacred symbols like level. Dude, it gets absolutely crazy because it's like all of them together. I'm just like,
I can't stand one, let alone like all, you know what I mean?
Like, yeah. So anything stand out that you've seen in the last week that you played that you wanted to bring up?
I did really like, I don't remember any like of the specific levels in the fourth Galaxy, but the boss fight was actually pretty good too. Like, it did frustrate me a little bit, but once I figured out the pattern, I'm like, okay, this is actually a cool little boss fight that they did, and like, and the third one was pretty decent as well.
Yeah. I think the snake was pretty good. I definitely have enjoyed the octopus and the snake way more than the gorilla. I think the gorilla was
And I think it was on purpose, right? Just to get your feet wet, like if they didn't play Astro's Playroom, or it's been, if they played it at launch and haven't played it through, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
let's ease you into it, and then it's like, all right, now that you're used to these mechanics, now let's ramp up the boss fights.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not necessarily the difficulty level. It's more of it's like everything else is so well developed and thought through. It
Yeah,
felt like the gorilla was like kind of, I wouldn't say last minute, but it definitely diminished what it felt like. And something that I've noticed is like when I get to the boss, I don't really have like a connection to fighting them. Like there's like, it's just like, all right, you're here. I've got to fight you because you're
yeah.
at the end. And
And I think that's the biggest missed opportunity, right? Because Mario does it so well where
yep,
you build up to that moment where it's like, all right, I see you. You've been teasing me. Now let's get this over with. This one, like you said, you just play worlds, collect bots, and then all of a sudden it's like maybe the second to last level does it, like connects, does a little bit. Like I know the one in the for the octopus did kind of connect right
yeah.
before the boss fight. But other than that, it's just like you're just saying surprise, like here's the boss fight. I'm like, okay, it's very underwhelming leading up to it, but like the boss fight itself is pretty good.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. The boss fights are great. It's just it's like, all right, you're in my way. That's what it feels like going
Right.
back to the comparison of Mario. At the beginning of a world, you're introduced to a boss and you feel that connection. They're, getting in your way and they're making you not like them in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
And with Astrobot, it's just like, all right, it's the last level. Here's the boss level. And the only way they've done that is actually with the alien that stole like the CPU or whatever they've
Right.
got. Because you see it every time you go into a new galaxy.
Right.
And it would have been cool to see like the alien like talking to the boss or of that galaxy or something like that to kind of pit you against them more
Right.
than them just being in the way.
Right.
But I think that's the only complaint that I could actually give this game
True.
is just storytelling is not fully there. But man, the gameplay, because there was one that I played. It's the power up where you can go like into the small ball. It's kind of like the armadillo.
Yeah, like the micro world. Are you talking
No.
about you're talking about the protective one?
Yeah, the protective one. The mouse one was really cool as well.
Yes.
I liked the sponge one. I thought that introduced a pretty interesting mechanic to it as well. But definitely the time one is my favorite out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
The rooster was pretty cool as well with the jetpack.
Yeah.
Instead of going horizontal like the dog, you're going vertical and everything. So a lot of cool things in there. And I can't wait to jump into more of it on Tuesday and playing some more. But a little bit of housekeeping before we move into the news. Just want to let everybody know next Saturday, September 28th, we are going to be doing our third installment of Eat, Sleep, Anime. We'll be announcing the time for everyone. And Derek is going to be in person for this episode.
What?
So I am excited because, we'll just skip the intro for this one.
Yeah.
We'll just
no. You can't do that. I just caught that. You will not. It'll be our last show ever if you do that.
If y'all don't know, I skip majority of the intros of any anime that I watch because of time. I got to get in all the time that I can.
What a jerk! And what are you gonna do with 3 extra minutes? That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude, if I watch 3 episodes, 3 extra minutes is 9. And then I can watch almost a whole nother episode.
Whatever you say, it's your world.
Dude, I got this all figured out. If it's a good enough song, it'll get me in those first few seconds.
Pause. How do you know if it's a good song if you don't listen to it?
Hey, you got to have a good hook, man.
And you don't listen to it. You just hit that skip right away. So
no, before that pops up, you get a little bit, you think about Cowboy
2
Bebop.
seconds.
Da-da-da-ba-da-da-da-da-bow. Like you got that. And it's like, all right, I'm in.
Well, guess what? You have songs that have a
dum.
build up and then they get to the good part.
No,
So
I'm not listening, and I love U2. I'm not listening to a U2 album. I'm watching anime. I don't need no build up. And plus, majority of the time, Derek, they ruin the flipping story with their, I'm going to tell you everything that's going to happen in this arc because of the intro.
I mean,
And
yes, but
I'm right.
also I like to see that build up also in the show, because then it's like, all right, because they don't tell you what happens, they just show what's like a fight.
I don't.
Like, all right, I want to know how we get to this point.
See, Derek, I have this innate ability, and Amy can back me up on this. I can predict majority of the twists and turns in a show, whatever's going to happen. So if I see it, it's like, oh, well, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And I start connecting things, and then it's ruined. I'm saving myself for a good anime. You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is you cannot have an opinion when I'm talking about anime themes, intros and outros. You are forbidden from having an opinion because you don't listen to the whole thing. So you and I have spoken. Your sensei has spoken.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Episode 1, I had an opinion on intros and outros.
Sure, Jan.
Amy says his predictions are quite annoying and quite accurate because I constantly get them right because, I'm just that good. You know what I mean? I'm just that good. So September 28th, we're going to be jumping into Eat Sleep Anime. And the only way to watch that, the only way to watch it is to be a Patreon member. Get that NerdCave membership. We'll talk more about that later, but go over to patreon.com/NerdCave, pick up a membership. And if we're feeling generous, we might do it for free for the free people again. I don't know. We'll have to see how everybody's feeling, but got to keep the lights and mics on, guys. Got to keep the
Everybody
lights
gets one.
Yeah, y'all got the last one for free. So let's jump into the gaming discussion this week. The Switch 2 leaks?
Question mark. So the Nintendo Switch 2 talk is in overdrive after alleged prototype images of Nintendo's next-gen console emerged online. The unverified images, a mix of computer-aided design images and printed circuit board photos, are said to have originated from a Chinese website before making their way onto Reddit. They show a device similar to the existing Switch console, but with a larger screen and magnetic Joy-Cons, which tie into previous reporting on the Switch 2. There is a USB-C port on the top and bottom of the console too. Nintendo has yet to comment on the images, and it's important to note that they remain unverified at this time and may relate to an early design that has since changed significantly. But VGC was told by one source that they match what the company has told partners to expect from its design. Accompanying the images is an alleged specifications list that mentions 12 gigabytes of RAM, which the original Switch had 4, and 256 gigabytes of internal storage, which the Switch had 32. And I saw this. The alleged images when I was watching Kind of Funny this morning, and it almost kind of looks like a mix between Steam Deck and the Aces. You know what I mean? Like, at first glance, you wouldn't tell it's a Switch, but then looking at it, I can't tell from the image. Like, I need a comparison, obviously, but it doesn't look like the screen is that much bigger. But magnetic Joy-Cons are an interesting choice. And how about this? Obviously, the Wii U was nothing like the Wii. It just felt like another version of the Wii, but with a tablet. Obviously, this is more of the same. This looks like more of the same if it's to be true. But in this case, it may not be a bad thing. Now, if there is improvements to it, like more storage space is not a bad thing. But then again, as we've learned, like when we went from a 500 gigabyte PS3, which had way more memory than we needed, to the PS4 being 500 gigabytes, we all thought, oh, that's a lot of storage. And then we saw the download space was a lot bigger for the games. So 256 gigabytes is a good thing on paper, but it may not be good for practicality because then the downloads for the Switch might be a lot larger. I don't know. The thing I'm hung up on is the magnetic Joy-Cons, because not so much the practicality of it, but will the Joy-Cons still have that annoying stick drift and feel like McDonald's baby toys?
Like, for me, the Joy-Cons, the magnetic part is not the part that makes the Joy-Cons drift. And I think
Right.
people are getting hung up on the magnetic part. The reason why the Joy-Cons drift is because of the actual thumbsticks.
Right.
There's a part of it that gets all gunked up or deteriorates. So I don't like, maybe the connection is better and it helps prevent that or whatever, but I don't think that that is going to necessarily fix it. I do hope we get, the buttons do look a little bit bigger, but it is, zoomed in.
Right.
Because, the baby buttons are kind of annoying. Playing on a Pro controller is way better
Right.
than the Joy-Cons and everything. But yeah, it looks very similar to the original.
Right.
I was holding it up, but the interesting thing is the screen has like a slant to it.
Really?
Yeah, compared to this is
I kinda
just
see it.
straight. It has
Yeah.
more of a trapezoid shape to it, which
Huh.
I find kind of off-putting because
Right.
everyone's going to be making their games for a trapezoid.
Right. And also, how is the dock? How are you going to adjust the dock? Let's say if it is like it's like the original Switch and you can put it in the dock, how will that work? Because obviously they can just adjust it, but that dock's going to look weird.
Yeah, and like just to
Only way,
show,
only way if it's like an open air one, like how you put like your rechargeable batteries, or like say
Mhm.
just like a handheld device, like in the little charging
Yeah.
dock. Like that's the only way it's going to work. Like if they do an open air one, but I don't know if that's practical either.
Yeah. And it could be just the angle that this is at that's
True.
making it look, kind of slanted, but the switch itself is very, just straight lined. It's not angled or anything, but I had this conversation with my coworker Nick,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of seeing it more from his side at this point. What? Okay, from the PlayStation side of things,
Mm-hmm.
getting a Switch 2 that's just more powerful is just kind of how things go.
Right.
Updated and all of that. But as a Nintendo fan, there's always a new gimmick. There's always a new thing with their consoles.
Yeah.
And
True.
it wouldn't make sense because Switch 2 has sold amazingly well.
You mean Switch 1?
Yeah, Switch 1 has sold really, really well, that we just do more souped up thing.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think, Derek, we get some sort of gimmick to pull Switch 2 into more of a Nintendo? Because where Nintendo decisions happen every day. And I feel like the Switch 2 is very un-Nintendo if this is the direction we're going.
The boring answer is just say yes, that will have a gimmick. What it will be, no idea.
Yeah.
But I also not necessarily think, but hope that they learn their lesson, that they've learned their lesson from the Wii U, right? And that they figured out, all right, let's give them, because they for the longest time they were two different types of consoles, the handheld and then the home console. Now they've merged it into one, and that was their gimmick, right? That's pretty much their gimmick. And it's like, hey, this did gangbusters. This arguably did better than pretty much the Wii, and just about in terms of sales. If not, I forget if it's exceeded the Wii's sales or not. But regardless, like it's been as successful as the Wii. And when they did their predecessor, the Wii U, they went from a major success to a major flop. And I think that the higher ups are realize that, hey, Switch's success, let's not go too over the moon with the successor to the Switch, and let's just keep it simple, stupid, and just keep like obviously yes, they have to change some stuff because they can't just say copy and paste and do more of the same because then what's the point of doing a Switch 2 or calling it a Switch 2 if you're just going to pretty much it's going to do all the same things as the original Switch. So I think because of that, they will add in something, but I hope it's minuscule and it just adds to it rather than makes it off-putting. So I just hope that they don't do a gimmick because I think this model of the Switch has done gangbusters for them. And I don't know, like I just want them to not flop again because they were in major dire straits financially because of the Wii U, and I don't want to see them do that again.
Yeah, the Switch has surpassed the Wii's sales.
Right.
Wii sold 101.63 million, and the Switch has sold 143.4 million consoles since 2017.
Part of me figured that they did outsell the Switch, but I just didn't want someone to come in there. Well, actually, the numbers.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that. Like, the reason why I bring this up is because everybody got up in arms last week about the PlayStation 5 Pro. I know a lot of it is more of the pricing,
right?
But it is just a souped up version of PlayStation 5.
Correct.
Are we going to see that? Like, it might not be pricing because I feel like if the Switch 2 comes out and is priced affordable, to a degree, around $350, I think it will sell like hotcakes. But do you think that just because it's more powerful that people will be jumping on this?
So for Nintendo, right? Yes, there are people out there that want more power. Like it wants it to be on par with a PlayStation, with an Xbox. My personal opinion, I don't think it ever will get to that point because they've always been behind in the tech part. However, I don't think it needs to be. Like, what are the most polished games on any Nintendo console that they play? They're exclusives. Their exclusives are what people come to play. Like, if you want to talk about just the overall coming to play a gaming experience, it's Nintendo. Like, that's the textbook answer to that, to that experience. And yes, does what the console do enhance what the enjoyment of the games, of course, but people come there for the Marios, for the Donkey Kongs, for the Mario Karts, for Zelda, they come for the titles. They don't really come necessarily for the console. The console is just what adds to the games. Whereas, like PlayStation, yes, it's an Xbox. They're great consoles. And the games only enhance the console of that, in my opinion. Yes, and more, but in terms of Xbox, they enhance more of the subscriptions, like Game Pass now. You know what I mean? So they enhance the it's a reverse. Whereas Nintendo, the console adds to what the games bring. And I know people are like, well, Horizon adds to the PlayStation. I'm like, yes, but it's a different aspect. I feel like, or at least in my opinion. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say.
So, and go ahead.
I was like, with both Xbox and PlayStation, you can run it on a PC. We've seen more and more ports. Nintendo does not let their IPs off of their consoles.
Correct.
And that's why they go after people with emulators and all of that all the time. And they protect it so well. And that's why that's why they never go on sale either. And the Switch was a generation where it broke that trend, right? Now it took it a couple years for some of those games to go on sale, but and that's another reason, right? Like Nintendo, yes, they don't make it as powerful as a PlayStation or an Xbox, but that's why they can get away with making it cheaper. Yes.
Because it's not as expensive to make, and plus, like to your point, they hardly ever take their games off the $60 price range. So they realize, hey, if we sell the console cheap, since we don't take our games down, but people still buy them, we'll make bank off the games to cover the loss on the consoles. And that's why they beat the Wii, this generation. But they're also trying to think, hey, we made like Mario Odyssey, not Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, Tears of the
Yeah.
Kingdom.
Right. But Breath of the Wild specifically because it was a launch game, right? They realized, hey, we more than made our money back on these games that were launch titles or launch window games for the Switch. Because it was in my last couple of years at GameStop that I saw, the Mario Odyssey was discounted $20. Breath of the Wild was discounted. And I was actually in shock because I'm like, wait, these aren't pre-owned. These are brand new Switch game, like Nintendo exclusive properties that are going on sale, at least the physical copies were. Yeah. I was flabbergasted. Like, and then they started going, they put them on the digital storefront on sale too from time to time. So I think Nintendo realized it's like, hey, we're seeing that, we're losing sales on units that we've made gangbusters on. Let's just get these properties out and get people just to play them and make some money on it. So they've already made their ROI on it months ago. Whereas, a lot of games like third party or other like Sony exclusives, well, maybe Xbox exclusives too, where they'll come out and then like 2 months later, they're already on sale.
Yeah, definitely Ubisoft is, I know Bo brought that up last week where they, come out and then like a month or two later, there are like deep discounts.
Oh yeah.
But my question is, and I heard, Blessing talking about this over on Kind of Funny.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think we finally get a like Nintendo store that goes cross generational, where it's not where you have to buy the same game over again, because that's happened since the Wii U. Every new console you have had
backwards
to
compatibility.
Well, it's like the games run on the systems, not necessarily backwards compatibility, but it is where you have to buy that certain game again, compared to like PlayStation or Xbox, where you buy it and it's in your, I could play whatever I bought on Xbox from the beginning.
So it's tough to say, right? Because again, I think this is where a weird Nintendo decision comes in. Like, you could easily say, I think this is the generation because Switch was so successful and they got their feet wet with Switch Online and integrating like old like NES, SNES, that kind of stuff, GameCube, whatever games onto that ecosystem. I feel like this is the one where they're like, all right, well, you already bought this, you own this IP, let's just carry it over. But I could also see where, even though it's terrible servers, that they still have a reason to push Switch Online and be like, all right, you have to, if you want to keep those games, like we're taking them off the store, but you can buy them at a discount if you own a Switch Online membership, kind of how like Xbox does with Game Pass, with games that are on there.
Yeah, like I could definitely see them doing it because it is a money-making venture.
Right.
Because, how many people have bought Super Mario Brothers, every time a new console. But it's like when you've been that big of a supporter of the Nintendo store and you've got this large Switch library and then Switch 2 comes out and it's like, man, it would be awesome if that just carried over.
Right.
All of those games. And it's like, I could keep my Switch and be able to play everything, but it's like having the upgraded RAM and, eventually we'll get an OLED screen on this. I don't think it will launch with an OLED because they're trying to keep costs down and everything.
Right.
But it's like having that kind of tie over like every other console maker has, I think would bring a lot of goodwill from Nintendo to the consumer. And again, these are corporations, so they're not always going to make decisions based on the consumer. But I think it would go a large way where people are more apt to get Nintendo Online. It's like, hey, I don't feel like I'm being ripped off. Like, that feeling when you get ripped off. Like, it's like, I feel kind of sick in my stomach that I got ripped off by something. And I just want Nintendo to be smart about it because, like, I'm not going to rebuy a game if, in 2 years or 5 years, I have to rebuy it again.
Right.
And I didn't even sell it. This is because the new console came out.
Correct. So we'll see. Obviously, if it's starting to leak and like there was a thing where people are already like developing games for the Switch too. So dev kits are apparently going out. So it's a real thing. It's just a matter of when Nintendo officially makes it a thing. So we'll get more information. obviously, as the months go on. But we'll see. Like again, like we said, they could also do a 180 and make a weird Nintendo decision.
Yeah. Weird Nintendo decisions. Just like our second story of the night, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company officially sue Palworld developer over. Let's try that again. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company officially suing Palworld dev over multiple patent infringements.
I talk good. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have filed a lawsuit against Palworld's developer Pocket Pair, seeking an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld infringes multiple patent rights. Pocket Pair has responded to the lawsuit, stating that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company didn't make a complaint to them previously. Palworld, a game with similarities to Pokemon, has faced controversy and backlash from fans, with comparisons made between the designs of Palworld's creatures and Pokemon characters. And again, this game launched late January. There was already rumblings from the moment it came out that it's like, oh, some of these Pokemon are these PAL creatures are blatant ripoffs of Pokemon. I get it, I see it, but it's like I don't know what patent infringements they embarked on. Other than it's sort of like if they made a copy of Pikachu and just hit the I for italics. I could kind of see it as like, oh, you just made one small change. Like it's still Pikachu. But some of them are different enough to where yes, it's similar to some of the features, but it's different enough to where it's its own creature. But yeah. I also feel like Palworld hasn't been relevant in a while. It came out and it had a big, a couple months. But I feel like because they haven't had a significant update in a while, people have just kind of let it go by the wayside and have forgotten about it. Plus, other big games have come out over the months too. But I feel like, in essence, Pokemon's trying to make Palworld relevant again by doing this. I don't know. It's a weird Nintendo decision. But do you think they have a case here? I get it. I get it. I see where they're coming from, but I don't think it's serious enough to pay charge all the court fees to do this and end up, whether they win or lose, I feel like they're only going to gain a significant financial gain or have a significant financial gain in this. Or non-significant, excuse me.
Real quick on this, June 27th of this year, Palworld did put out a new update with a new island and all of that. So just wanted to put that out there. But
that also was almost 3 months ago.
Yeah. To your point, though, I think there is a difference between IP infringement and patent infringement. Correct. And I know a lot of people are going to go to this one looks like that one. And if that was the case, Palworld probably would have got a cease and desist way early on.
Right.
I think it is going to be more about, okay, you're capturing, this is me just talking here. Yeah. You capture a PAL and it goes to a computer, the Pokebox.
Yeah.
And that's where you're able to retrieve them if your items are full. Because monster catching games have been around for a long time, since the late 80s. And Pokemon is not the first one. You also had Monster Rancher and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm curious what patents they're referring to. Is it the catch system? Is it the fighting system? The fighting system in Palworld compared to Pokemon is severely different.
Right.
Is it you have to catch multiple of them to kind of like how Arceus was, where you had to catch multiple of them to be able to get to a certain level, multiples of the same creature or whatever.
Right.
And I don't even the traversal. Again, I haven't played all of the newer Pokemon and everything, but I know Arceus lets you fly and ride on certain Pokemon and everything.
Right.
It's which patent is that? And it's if Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are bringing this, they feel like they can win because Nintendo's sue happy. Let's just be honest. They love suing people. And it's like, okay, they feel like they've got grounds and they feel like they can win. So that's why they're doing this. And I know Power World, like the devs have, responded to this. And I feel like they kind of know that they're like in that gray area, but they're trying to play the PR spin. It's like, we're trying to look out for indie devs and all of that. But I also think them constantly putting out, hey, we just sold 130 million copies of this game. And it's like constantly pushing the Pokemon company's nose in this. You know what I mean?
I guess they had enough. They got back up and said, all right, we're going to stand up to the bully.
Yeah. So when it all comes down to it, we need a little bit more information.
Yeah.
Do we find out anything from this? I don't know. I think this might be settled out of court and we don't really hear anything information wise,
Yeah.
But
depends on if they send Jason Schreier on the case.
Yeah. But, when it comes down to it, if the court does rule in favor of the Pokemon company, that puts in danger anyone that has, any kind of catching mechanic in their game. It's going to set a standard and it's going to make it very difficult for anyone to do any kind of gameplay that's inspired.
Yeah.
There's a difference between stealing and then stealing like an artist.
Right.
And I feel like Power World, there are times when they definitely have stolen, allegedly. All right.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
And it's all perfectly legal.
And you see the similarities are very there. Like, the POW spheres instead of Pokeballs, and it's like, because something is a sphere or a ball or whatever, they're not going to, I don't think that's the patent. No. I think it's more of like some of the systems in place.
It has to be.
I feel like it's going to be the box thing where you catch something and it gets sent back to the box. It works exactly the same way as Pokemon does. I feel like that is the thing that they're catching them on. And it might be some other ones because it says patent infringements, plural. Yeah. So neither here nor there. I'm curious where it goes, and can Pocket Pair win?
True. I don't know. I feel like if you go against any of the big three, you have a slim chance unless like it is like so far out of left field Sue that they're just trying to get you shut down type deal, and it's not, and it's like a paper thin argument. But I about to say, if one of the big three goes to sue you, that means they have a rock solid ironclad evidence that it's pretty much going to put you out to pasture. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, guys. Our marketing budget is 0 at this show, and we need your help. We need you to subscribe. We need you to like. We need you to follow on all the places all over the web, and make sure to share the show. It helps us out so much. You're yelling at the algorithmic gods, we like this and this is good and I enjoy it. And the longer you watch, the more stuff you engage with that we put out, the more you're saying, hey, algorithm, push this stuff to more people because I think it's good and more people need to see it because these NerdCave guys, they're cool. So go to podcast services, go to YouTube, all the places that we are, like, share, all of that stuff. It helps us out a ton. So, yeah, go help us out there. Number 3. Almost said number 3 on the Roper Report. I've been watching too much Kind of Funny. Number 3, Annapurna Interactive's entire staff has reportedly quit.
Wow. And this was a shock because this literally happened the day, on Friday after our show. And I'm like, man, y'all couldn't have done this the day before. And we had something major to talk about. The entire staff of Annapurna Interactive, including President Nathan Gary and 24 other members, resigned due to a dispute with the company's owners. The resignation was a result of failed negotiations between the staff and Annapurna Pictures, led by Megan Ellison, regarding the spinoff of Annapurna Interactive from its owner. Annapurna Interactive plans to continue supporting its existing games and expand its presence in the interactive space, while also honoring current contracts and replacing the staff who resigned. Game devs are concerned about the future of Annapurna Interactive and the interim period until the publisher has hired a new team, as the company has been known for publishing unique indie titles. One of them, one of the last ones they did, Stray, was actually nominated for Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you agreed with it or not is irrelevant. It was up there. This was kind of shocking because, you know, there's been this like pretty much boiling point, right, between the layoffs and restructuring and expansion and buyouts, and then AI taking over the world type deal and replacing people in jobs. That I think we were like, you know, we've seen layoffs, studio closures, but we have yet to have seen like, and then people are starting to unionize against AI and all this, but we have yet to see a studio like, well, I shouldn't say we have yet. It's been a long time since we've seen a studio just up and say, we've had walkouts like protests and all that kind of stuff, but we have never seen a studio, an entire studio, including its president. President just walk out and say, we quit. Like, we ain't doing this no more. This was jaw dropping to me. Like, yes, it is a smaller studio, but Annapurna has been so active in the indie space that they are pretty much considered a major indie publisher, in my opinion. And to see them just up and quit because of how and I'd like to see like the entire vision, like not just because not because of the context, like, oh, I think they're overreacting, because of because it's one thing if you make a few changes and people who originally signed up to develop games because this is what they were doing back then, and they were just like, well, I don't have the chops for this, I have to find a job elsewhere, versus like we're changing pretty much our entire business model for the entire staff to walk out is crazy.
Yeah, it when I heard about this, and this is Annapurna Interactive and Annapurna like Entertainment are like two different sides. So the deal that we talked about a few weeks ago with Control and Alan Wake, all of that is still in place. So that's not an issue here. But when literally your whole entire staff leaves because of the decision, because they were wanting to spin off into just Annapurna Interactive on their own, they weren't tied to anything. When your whole entire staff decides to leave because of the decision of the boss, not a leader, but the boss, that says a lot about what the culture and the expectation was within this. Because again, to your point, the industry is volatile, and getting a job in game development, getting funding in game development is absolutely insane right now.
Right.
So for an entire 25 people to leave a president, which is probably pulling in a pretty good salary of a publishing group, but the president and all the people below him to quit is kind of crazy. I want to list off a few of the games that they have published.
Okay.
What Remains of Edith Finch, Flower, Gone Home, Donut County, Florence, Outer Wilds, Journey, Stray, 12 Minutes, The Artful Escape, Solar Ash, Neon White, Cocoon, which was other than God of War, it was my game of the year. Thirsty Suitors, and then they've got some stuff that they're putting out, you know, now and everything. Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth is coming out from them, but yeah, Annapurna Interactive has put out some bangers.
Yeah, like either like widely popular or like very critical darlings that, you know, like they have been putting in work. Like, yeah, they don't yes, they pump out games more than like these big name devs, but they also take their time and craft these good experiences. Because I know you played 12 Minutes, and you know, like, I don't think you were, from what I remember, you weren't over the moon by it, but you were impressed with how like the gameplay loop went and finding the puzzles change it to get out of the loop. And then like, What Remains of Edith Finch, Outer Wilds, like Cocoon.
Cocoon is a flipping masterpiece. Gone Home, and I think that was more of the Apple and Nintendo release, because it came out on you know, Steam and all that way before that. But Yeah, dude, like the amount of games and the caliber of
Yeah.
games
Because
is
I mean,
just amazing.
these weren't games that just came out like a lot of indie games do and just were like left in the dust. These were talked about for the entire year or like years, like for a year or two after it released. Like these were like critical darlings and major contributors. Like again, I said whether you like I said a moment ago, whether you agree with it or not, it was nominated. Stray was nominated for Game of the Flippin' Year,
Yep.
and that was like Annapurna's peak. I feel like, in my opinion, like that was their peak because they finally made it, and I think that was. I don't want to say it was like a what's the word? It was like a tongue-in-cheek nomination, but it was like I feel like it was more like a history thing with them. Is like, hey, you have made so many good games. We're finally going to give you a seat at the table. Like we're taking you seriously. We're treating you like all these other. Like we're not treating you like an indie dev. We're treating you like a major publisher in this industry. And it's just like it's a testament to their lineage, like their history of how they make games. But again, to see them just walk out is pretty serious, and it makes me feel like all that they have done, like the people above them, just saw that as just like, I'm about to say you're not making us hand over fist money, so we're going to restructure this company. How we doing? It's like a slap in the face to the people who have poured blood, sweat, and tears into these games over the last year, like 10 years at least.
Yeah. Well, and it comes back to corporate America. You are replaceable. You were, if you leave, no one's going to remember you in a year,
Right.
or why you left. And when a whole company walks out, that's a much larger statement than just
right.
the
One person.
CEO or whatever, some random dev leaving or anything like that. Even like Amy Hennig leaving Naughty Dog back in the day. It's like, yeah, there's the few of us that talk about it, but Naughty Dog still made amazing games even after Amy Hennig left. And she is a godsend to video games. So I wish the best to all the people that have left with, from Annapurna, that they'll either establish something on their own or that they will find other places to go. Because again, the climate and everything that's going on in gaming is absolutely insane. So good luck. And we look forward to seeing what you can create in the future. It's time for the PlayStation news, Derek. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, PlayStation 6 is reportedly well into production with AMD placing high importance on backwards compatibility.
If you thought we were done talking PlayStation from last week with the PS5 Pro reveal, you thought wrong. And I guess they figured it's like, people are underwhelmed by the PS5 Pro. Let's mention something about PS6. Sony is reportedly well into production of the PS6 with AMD, placing high importance on backwards compatibility for the new console. AMD secured the contract to produce chips for the PS6 with talks allegedly taking place in 2022 after Intel reportedly lost the contract. Sony is focusing on backwards compatibility for the PS6, and it was mentioned that the format holder would have risked backwards compatibility if it had sided with Intel instead of AMD. So it's because AMD, I feel like, has always been a major player in the hardware tech space. So it just kind of made sense because you don't really think Intel, because Intel, you think more with PC. You don't really think with gaming consoles, in my opinion. So I feel like this was a good way. And like, again, them being able to make backwards compatibility a more legitimate thing with AMD than Intel shows that Sony's actually not only listening, but making it a thing, making it a priority. That's like, hey, we've got this legacy library of games that people still love to this day that have been buying since we've put them back on the PlayStation Store, even though you have to pay like $40 for some of these like PS2 games anyway. But it's a testament to, it's actually a good thing in Sony's court that they're thinking about this now. What the execution will look like is another thing entirely, and we'll get to that bridge we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. However, them wanting to make backwards compatibility thing potentially is a good thing, because that means that we could get like easier access to some of these legacy titles. Like obviously PS5 is a given, you've got to do that. That's got to be day one. PS4 you can also write as a shoe-in because that's arguably their most popular or most successful console they've done, and they've had so many great games on there that it would be a shame to lose access to that library as well. And then you get into the earlier ones like PS3, PS2, PS1. I almost want to feel like PS1 might be the cutoff because some of those games are just so hard to port over. I feel like PS2 is more legitimate, and it was like their at the time like their most successful console. So I wonder how deep they go with this. But again, we've also seen PlayStation do weird decisions as well. So I don't know. What do you think about this?
It's weird that we're getting PS6 news the week after PlayStation 5 Pro.
Correct. That and that's what I was thinking. That's why I said what I said when I'm just like, and the people are, there was a poll saying that only 20% of people are going to be pre-ordering or at least buying a PS5 Pro. So Sony probably saw that and it's like, okay, not what we thought to at least the reception to be. And I know people have been complaining about the price point. I feel like that's more of the major topic than the actual console itself. So I guess PlayStation I think they were doing like a bait and switch almost. And it's just like, all right, you don't like this? PS6, we're dangling in front of your face. We're starting to mention it.
Yeah, it just felt really kind of forced and weird, to be honest. But with the PlayStation 6, I think this is, them prepping people for, okay, you're not going to buy the PlayStation 5 Pro. We know that is for a certain niche demographic. Okay, we are working on the PlayStation 6, and that's going to be, around 2028 because it's about 2 years between a launch of a up version of Pro or whatever. And it's like, okay, start saving your money. This is going to be powerful. It's going to be big. I looked, and AMD is in all of the current gaming consoles. We haven't had like Intel since PlayStation 3 from what I was finding.
Wow.
So with that being said, and of course I could be wrong on that, y'all let me know, but with that, AMD is usually cheaper than Intel to get when you're building a PC and everything. And they have, depending on which one you get, they do a really good job of power to price. Intel is more powerful overall, but it is way more pricey. So I think they're being smart with this because if they can get the cost down on that means that they're going to make more profit on the initial run. I'm not saying it's going to be cheaper. I am not saying any of that. I am just saying that it's going to be more profitable for Sony. And that being said, do you think, Derek, we're going to have the same shortage issue that we had for PlayStation 5? I know we had the pandemic and everything, and there were a lot of, supply chain issues and all of that. But do you think this time around that PlayStation, Xbox, and even Nintendo Switch, because the Nintendo Switch released 2017 and had issues with supplies. So do you think the PlayStation 6 is going to run into that?
I think because of the world we live in now, and because now will the scalpers run rampant like they did, and will we have giant gaps in shortages to where it's like, oh, GameStop just got 10 more PS5s in store, but we won't see any more for like 5 months. Get it while it's hot, and then up the price on the online with scalpers and whatnot. Do I think we'll see that? No. Do I still think we see like now with PlayStation, because it's been so freaking popular, because PS4s, people forget PS4s at launch, which was 2013, were hard to find initially. Were hard to find. Like, we had trouble keeping them in stock, and we were selling like $1,000 bundles, like with all with all the launch titles. Granted, you got all the games within like a bunch of accessories, but it's like, hey, buy these bundles because we don't know when we're getting more PlayStation 4s in. So do I think? Well, I think since the PS4 generation and Switch generation, it's just going to be a thing. Now, will it be as bad as PS5? I don't think so. But will we still have issues in the beginning? I do think so. I think just because of the way we world and like the world we live in, and FOMO is hugely a thing. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's just going to be a norm going forward.
Yeah, I do agree on that. I think because chips are dependent on certain materials and they are
Mhm.
harder to build and they're only built in certain locations in the world,
Yep.
that will be the bottleneck, just like the PlayStation 5s. That was the
Mhm.
bottleneck, was with the chips. So only time will tell. I do think because we're out of pandemic times and everything, it won't be
Yeah.
as bad, but I do think that we will possibly have some issues, especially when both console manufacturers are supposed to be putting out a new console in 2028. Both of them are going to be trying to get chips and everything, and that makes it way, way harder for the
Yep.
industry to do that. And then you're probably getting CPUs and Intel and AMD, like they're always putting out new versions that are slightly better than each other. Now, Derek, I know this is probably in the quick hits,
Mhm.
and since we're in PlayStation, we're talking about the PlayStation 5 and the
Oh,
6 and
if it's
all
the
of that.
30th anniversary one, probably I didn't include that because I
You
just saw it
did.
right before we.
Okay. What we're talking about here, PlayStation 5 30th anniversary collection has been revealed. They did a video. We're not going to watch it, but
Yeah.
man, does that Pro look beautiful. Look at that thing. It looks like
Not
a,
$700 beautiful, but it does look good.
yeah, with the great, like, it's just reminds me of the PlayStation 1. These
Yeah.
controllers look fantastic.
The controllers look dope.
Now, how about this, Derek? The charging
That
cable looking like an old PlayStation 1 cord.
now, I was about to say that one, the cord looks dope. Like looking like an old, like that one is like very, especially since we're both of us are playing Astrobot, and
Mm-hmm.
like the zip line cables that jut out are PlayStation 1 controller cords. So I was more cringing at the ties, like the sake, because I'm like, I don't know if I like that or not.
I don't really know how these will work, what they're even for.
They're ties for like cable management and whatnot.
Oh, gotcha. I'd rather use Velcro than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look cool. And to Murdoch's point, he's like, I like the old look Heritage Edition. Yeah, 100%. Like it looks fantastic. You're also like, if you don't want to get the PlayStation 5 Pro, you want to save some money, there is a digital edition of the regular PS5.
Hmm.
Same
I'm
look
assuming
and
the
everything.
slim, right?
Yes, it's the slim. One thing with the PlayStation um, 5 Pro is there's going to be a limited amount of them.
Of course.
There's not,
Shocking
yeah,
no one.
yeah, shocking no one. But yeah, so there's going to be a limited one. But this right here, Derek, I've been wanting the PlayStation Portal, and I
Yeah.
think I'm going to wait for this bad boy. It looks so good in gray. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, it just.
Have fun paying $500 for that because they're going to go out ASAP, and then scalpers are going to upsell.
Nah, man. Not everybody is like into the PlayStation Portal like I am. And then of
Fair.
course we get the, DualSense Edge controller, which looks great in gray. You get all of
Yep.
the I wish they were including the PlayStation 1 cord with that. That would have
Yeah,
been
that's
really
dumb
cool.
not to do, but whatever, I
Yeah.
guess. Weird
And then you
Sony
get
decision.
yeah, and then you get the regular PlayStation controller. Does not include a cord with that at all. So
Mm.
but yeah, here's the lineup, looking sleek. And then you get the I don't know why this is white,
Yeah.
but having them look like the old PlayStation
Yeah,
boxes,
that's dope.
so cool, man. Like I love that. That attention to detail is phenomenal.
Yes.
Good job, PlayStation. Again, don't know why the white box on that one, but yeah, Derek, what do you think? Are you excited for any of these?
I definitely am intrigued by the controller, so
Mm,
I don't know how limited that's going to be because I know sometimes with limited controllers, at least through GameStop, like we either get a bunch of them or we don't get a lot of them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's no in between. It's either one side or the other. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a super limited edition. Will I try and go out and get one? Maybe, but if I happen to walk into a store and I see one, I'll buy it, but I'm not, if I miss my opportunity, it wasn't meant to be.
Gotcha. Yeah, the PlayStation Portal is definitely on my list. I do want one of the, because it even has like the logo with the color on it, like it was back in the day,
Right.
instead of just like the whatever.
The
It's
blackout symbol.
usually just black
Yeah.
on there. So yeah, I might get one of these. I'm not getting the Edge controller because it's way too expensive. But there
Right.
will be 12,300 PlayStation 5 Pro consoles.
Wow.
So there's a very, very limited version of the PlayStation 5 console. I wish we would get a, and this is the thing that they're doing. They're making it where you want to get a slim.
Yeah.
I wish they were making face plates for the originals that were in the gray.
Correct.
But you're not seeing anything about face plates around this one compared to like the Spider-Man
Right.
console and everything. So just wanted to bring that up before we got into Bungie news, because Bungie is becoming the Days Gone right now. Like I'm about to
Ban them.
excommunicate Bungie from the show, like as an executive order, because I am tired of talking about them. But until we do that, Bungie's ex-lawyer says Sony forcing Bungie to get their heads out their butts and run Destiny 2 like a business is very much a good thing.
So Bungie is making major changes to Destiny 2, including the release of 2 medium-sized expansions and 4 major free content updates annually, aiming to enhance the player experiences through a new multi-year saga. Former Bungie lawyer Don McGowan expressed approval of Sony's influence on Bungie, stating that it had forced the studio to run the game like a business and focus on new player acquisition, among other improvements. Bungie reportedly has no plans for Destiny 3 and has canceled a Destiny spin-off project known as Payback. Development on its Marathon revival is still ongoing. Bungie announced plans to cut 220 staff and move an additional 155 workers to Sony Interactive Entertainment, leaving the dev with around 850 employees. So, it's one thing, like running it like a business, like it is definitely a good thing, like because we saw, right, like not running it like you're playing just like how, like you're just playing in the backyard type thing, and like I don't want to say a frat house because that has negative implications, and
that's how Bungie used to be.
You're right, that is true. I don't know, like I do feel like it is a step in the right direction, but also at the same time I feel like they're having to shape up and ship out because their live service projects are not working. I don't know, like we'll see what this does for Bungie as a studio going forward, because we've got a story about their game Marathon here right after this in a moment. But it's interesting, and I wonder how much that was Jim Ryan's influence versus just PlayStation stepping in and be like, yeah, y'all got to shape up. Like, y'all got to do right. Put down the bottle and get serious.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is Bungie, clearly inside they knew that they weren't profitable, and they,
right.
hit a lot of things and all of that. But now that it's coming out to us, it's like, okay, Bungie has been in a bad position since probably the launch of Destiny 2. And
True.
Now it's like, okay, you are owned by us now, being Sony, and you are going to have to fall in line. It's kind of like opening up a Chick-fil-A, Derek.
Yeah.
And then not following the organizational mandates. You've got the playbook of how the franchise is supposed to run.
Right.
And then you're like, I think I can do it better than, the multiple Chick-fil-A's that they've already figured out the program. All you got to do is do the thing, and it runs on its own, and it's great. But it's like, I think I can do better because, I made Halo.
Yeah.
Actually, really all the people that made Halo are pretty much gone at this point from Bungie.
Right.
But you clearly see from having to let off tons of staff, things not selling well, development times are crazy. It's like, hey, you're going to actually have to act like a business because you're losing money, and we're constantly having to let people go to keep the bottom line from going crazy.
Yep.
So when your previous lawyer is like, yeah, this is something that they need to do because they need to get their heads out their butts. And
Yeah.
you didn't say butts, everybody. You said something else. But it's just like, that says a lot about how this company has been ran in the past. I think Herman Holst is going to be putting the screws to them.
Yep. So
You know,
if they are being led in the right direction, they have nowhere to go but up in this instance.
yeah, put Shuhei there. He'll fix them.
He'll look at you like he looked at Corey Barlog when he showed him his first iteration of God of War. He's like, what is this? Like, this ain't it.
Yeah, full of grace. And your grace period is up, Bungie. Speaking of Bungie, Bungie's marathon could reportedly be $40 rather than another free-to-play shooter. And I didn't put the article here because that whole title just says what the article was about, Derek.
Right.
Do you think, Derek, marathon being $40 instead of free-to-play is actually going to make money?
Well, just a random example, current history. There was another live service shooter that recently came out, is no longer a thing, that also launched with a $40 Founders Edition, and that was Concord. Now, am I saying Marathon is in the same universe as Concord? Does it look like a more thought out, complete game, not just a shallow copy of other games that we've seen in the past? No, obviously it's different. Do I still believe that being a $40 price point is the right thing to do? I don't know, because it screams of like, there's always a stigma around free-to-play games. Like the tagline is they're called freemium because nothing is really free, because if you want to expedite unlocks, buy currency to get, to upgrade faster, you have to pay for it,
Yeah.
Nothing is truly free. Obviously, it's all optional, but nothing is truly free. So does it still feel like an ick, like a slime ball move to say, oh, you get $40 and you get the Founders Edition that gets all the unlocks? Yeah, it is. But at the same time, I don't know. I obviously, yes, Bungie has had its issues lately, and Destiny has been wobbly since Destiny 2 launch. But would I trust them more than a new studio called Firewalk, with a brand new IP that looked, it was kind of funny, but it also looked like stuff we had seen before. I do trust Bungie in that instance, but do I fully trust them to right the ship with this one after Destiny 2 has been not an embarrassment, but underwhelming, and they had to cancel Destiny 3 after they not that many years ago promised, oh, Destiny 3 is going to be the improvement that we're going to see. We're excited to show you. And then all of a sudden at the 11th hour canceled it. I don't know. I'm torn, but I'm also I'm pushing toward the side of like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah. To Murdoch's comment. No.
Right.
Like, okay. So this year has been very interesting because yes, we've had Concord, which came out and was taken offline within 2 weeks.
Correct.
And then we had another PlayStation entity launch a game on my birthday, February 8th, called Helldivers 2.
Correct.
That was $40. With that all being said, Helldivers 2 has been a phenomenal juggernaut. It has slowly leaked players over the, several months that it's been out, but it had a very good, strong start. People were crazy about it. Like literally people were making content around the updates of the war campaigns, and they're constantly putting out new things. And like even Murdoch says, new update to Helldivers 2 is awesome, by the way. I need to go check it out. But that being said, it's like you have this template of a game that no one really expected, unless you knew, us, we knew that was going to be good, but no one expected it to be this good.
Correct.
And then you have what was Concord, and everybody could tell the writing on the wall.
Correct.
Even Sony, and they really wasn't pushing it.
Yeah.
And now Bungie's Marathon, we've only gotten one trailer from it when they announced it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you're coming out after Concord gets shut down. It was $40 as well. And now you're like, hey, this is going to be $40. It's kind of a red flag. You know what I mean?
Because I mean, yes. Concord was more of a hero shooter rather than just a straight,
Yes.
shooter. But they're very similar because these were both shown at that live service PlayStation showcase that everyone hated. You know what I mean? Because it was all
one.
It was like, yeah, because now granted they hated the whole showcase because it was all straight live service, but it's still not good because it's like that whole whatever games were shown in that left a bad taste in people's mouths. Like,
yeah,
I know we talked about after Concord failed that Sony still has faith in fair games. At the same time, it's people like the critical reception is still not going to be good because again, Fair Games is another one that was shown off at that showcase, and I don't. Right or wrong, people I think are not going to give any of these a fair shake just to spite Sony because it's like this is not what we wanted. This is not the future. This is like just putting out sprinkling one or two out here and there is fine, but to push this like to follow through with this push is not the way we want it to. So I don't want to say like they'll intentionally like bomb it and just not and like make it tank. At the same time, it doesn't bode well going into this, especially on, like you said, on the heels of Concord being shut down 2 weeks after launch.
Yeah, and the live service game that was supposed to be the flagship got canceled. I'm talking about Last of Us.
Yes.
Like the flagship thing got canceled, but we still pushed ahead with some of these other ones. And like, I know we can beat a dead horse here. I want to see more of Marathon, but I think it's supposed to be an extraction shooter, which is like, how many people want to see more extraction / battle royale shooters? It's like that stuff is dead as a door now. And yes, people are going to be like, oh, well, you got Fortnite. And it's like, yeah. Do you really want to go against Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Warzone? No.
Right. No. Like the Kings. Like you don't want to go against the three wise men.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, let's get into some PlayStation quickies.
So starting off, Circana analyst says PS5 Pro to account for up to 20% of all PS5 sold in first 2 months of launch. Hideaki Nishino says consoles will remain core of PlayStation's business in the future. Vince Zampella says the PS5 Pro price makes sense. Rumor, PSVR 2 wireless headset leaked by Sony in PlayStation blog post. Sony to reveal new in-zone gaming monitor next week. PlayStation September State of Play is set for next Tuesday, it is claimed. Human Fall Flat is coming to PSVR 2 and offers completely new experience from the original game. Minecraft update to end PSVR support by March. Looks like Warhammer 40K Darktide is finally coming to PlayStation 5. Helldivers 2 Chemical Agents Warbond is out today. Following that, there's an update that update notes confirm new Galactic War feature, huge overhaul for anti-tank, armor penetration, and health values. A major showcase of Marathon reportedly won't come until spring of next year. Astrobot was second only to NBA 2K25 in the US in sales during its launch week. PS5's rumored Horizon Zero Dawn remaster has been rated by the ESRB. And lastly, The Last of Us Season 2 to premiere in the first half of 2025 during the Emmy window.
Derek, what do you think we're going to get from the State of Play that's potentially coming next Tuesday?
So, like I had talked about, I think I put in the quickies last week that major first-party games will not be there. I feel like it'll be indie and published. Now, I do think. Now, that doesn't mean exclusives won't come. It'll just be second-party partners like the Until Dawn remake. Like if this rumored Horizon Zero Dawn remaster is true, I feel like we will get PlayStation properties, but will we see a Sucker Punch? Will we see Naughty Dog? Will we see whomever? I don't think I do believe that will be true, but I also think like other iterations like remasters and remakes from second-party partners will show up. But I think it will be more of like indie devs and third-party partners that will take over the showcase.
Yeah, I know one of the tweets, I think it was Jeff Grubb saying this, that there will be a less exciting PlayStation franchise that will show off like a remaster. Not talking about Horizon Zero Dawn, but a what do you think that's going to be? I have my thoughts.
A less exciting franchise.
And it's supposed to be from like the PlayStation 4 generation.
He didn't allude to what type of game it was, just like a less exciting franchise. I feel like, just thinking, it's either going to be something small like maybe like Little Big Planet, because I think we haven't gotten anything since Sackboy, and that was a PS5 launch title. So I think they might, since Astrobot did so well, they might try and see if anyone cares about Little Big Planet anymore. Because there is a thing, I will spoil one of the quick hits, and it's only because it's coming to Switch. Also, that's why it's not in the PlayStation quickies, but they just talked about how Freedom Wars is getting a remaster for consoles like PS5, PS4, PC, and Switch. So that could also be a thing. The other thing is like, because it did so well on PC, like Days Gone, it wasn't a big. Granted, it was big leading up to launch, but then when it came up, like no one cared about that game because it was underwhelming and the mechanics weren't bad. So I don't know. It could be anything. Like I'm trying to think of small from like PS4, and it's just like I don't know, because again, it's already Until Dawn is getting a remake. We already know about that. What are your thoughts?
Days Gone is the potential. The Order 1886.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Could be a potential one. I'm trying to think of other ones.
It's hard, right? Because PS4 had so many good games come out for it.
Maybe Infamous Second Son.
Potentially, because it didn't live up. I don't know.
It wasn't as good as 1 and 2. Like,
right, but
definitely not as good.
Right, but that's just one iteration. When you say less exciting franchise, like people loved Infamous 1 and 2.
Yeah, but people don't rave about Second Son.
Right, but okay, and maybe I'm looking too much into the weeds. But when he says less exciting franchise, I'm thinking about the series as a whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just one game. Trying to think what came out around the PS4.
Maybe Tearaway?
Maybe.
Was that an exclusive? Was Tearaway?
So yeah, it started on the Vita, and then they did do a port to the PS4.
That's what I thought. Okay,
so,
yeah. Tearaway. Maybe. This could be Heavy Rain.
Oh, yeah, Heavy Rain. What about, now it's been dormant for a long time, Resistance?
But it's not like Resistance didn't come out. Well, Heavy Rain wasn't out on PlayStation 4 either.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Detroit Become Human was their PlayStation 4 game, but I feel like it did really well though.
Yeah, it did do its thing. It was arguably Quantic Dream's most popular game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't feel like it's going to be a Gran Turismo. I don't feel like that's going to be it. Maybe Concrete Genie.
Oh, that would be right up your alley, wouldn't it?
That would be a freaking slap in the face, though, dude.
True,
because they closed down that studio.
Yeah,
Pixel Opus. Like,
hey, but they did. Well, minor spoilers for Astrobot. They did include him as a bot in Astrobot.
Oh,
so,
cool. So, I didn't know that. I haven't gotten to that point. Well, that's the PlayStation Quickies. It's time for the Patreon Quick Hits. Patreon Quick Hits are brought to you by our wonderful patrons. Go and support the Nerd Cave by getting your very own Nerd Cave membership to help us continue to make shows just like this one. Become part of the ship, part of the crew at patreon.com/nerdcave and help support this 1.5 person business. Derek is the half.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, Derek is the half, guys. Guys, it's time for the Patreon Quick Hits.
First up, Tony Hawk confirms he's talking to Activision about the series' 25th anniversary. Multiversus Season 3 is out now and includes the Powerpuff Girls with DC's Nubia to follow. Assassin's Creed Syndicate 60 FPS patch could be on the way, according to now-deleted Ubisoft tweet. Embracer confirms proposed sale of 4A games and Zen Studios has been canceled. EVE Online dev CCP sparks backlash with crypto blockchain spinoff EVE Frontier. Microsoft layoffs hit COD Warzone Mobile, which, quote, didn't hit as big as hoped. Lord of the Rings game Tales of the Shire has been delayed to early next year. Ubisoft adding offline modes to the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest, but the original game is gone for good. 10 years after being pulled offline, viral mobile game Flappy Bird is coming back. Pocket Pair boss unsure whether Power World will become a live service game. Following that, Power World is not going free to play and says it's, quote, this just isn't what our players want. Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica remakes reportedly may not be as ambitious as RE4 remake. The Watch Dogs movie has officially wrapped filming. Immortals of Avium dev is working on a new project with Dan Houser's Absurd Ventures studio. Yoshinori Kitase says Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 won't betray the fans of the original game. But following that, Square Enix reveals Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI sales, quote, did not meet expectations. But as we've talked about in past episodes and past years, Square Enix has way overambitious sales goals to hit. I'll just leave it at that. Crystal Dynamics hiring for senior franchise artist on the Tomb Raider series. Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake has officially gone gold ahead of its November 14th launch. A 2-month gold, well, that's impressive. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a spiritual successor to classic indie adventurer Fate of Atlantis. Nintendo announces 2 new Mario Kart Switch bundles out this fall, which includes a regular Switch and OLED bundle with Mario Kart 8 and a 12-month Switch Online membership. Gee, another year. Who could have seen this coming? At least they're putting an OLED bundle with it this year.
Nintendo is there, y'all. Nintendo knows how to do it.
So, Nintendo says Splatoon 3 regular updates ending 2 years after launch. Blizzard has reportedly earned $150 million from Diablo 4 microtransactions. That's right up your road, Zach. Black Myth Wukong is reportedly getting DLC in early 2025. VR studio N Dreams will lay off as much as 17.5% of its staff. EA's Vince Zampella discusses the first details on the next Battlefield game and shows first look at concept art. EA will start large-scale community-driven testing for the next Battlefield game in 2025. Starfield Shattered Space Expansion never sends you off planet, confirms Bethesda. Skate Early Access kicks off in early 2025 with console playtesting due out this fall. EA will continue to support The Sims 4 rather than make The Sims 5. Respawn's next Star Wars Jedi game will be the final chapter in the story. Excuse me, give me one second. Behavior Interactive cancels Dead by Daylight PvE co-op shooter Project T. Following that, Behavior Interactive shutters Midwinter Entertainment following Project T's cancellation. Tom Clancy's The Division 3 is hiring for a narrative director. X-Deviant is, quote, absolutely not dying, says Ubisoft as it reveals Season 2 with a new faction, maps, and more. Ex-BioWare dev reveals Dragon Age Inquisition massively oversold internal EA projections. HTC Vive's $999 Focus Vision lets PC players bring the same high-end headsets used in VR arcades into their homes. Nintendo announces Battletoads Double Dragon, Jaleco's Big Run, Cosmo Gang The Puzzle, and Kunio-kun No Dodgeball for Switch Online Library. Freedom Wars Remastered, bringing Vita favorite to modern platforms as first potential step towards a sequel. EA is launching a new social app that mixes in sports game tech, Ultimate Team, and live sports. EA says AI is, quote, the very core of its business. The Witcher Sirens of the Deep Netflix film has been delayed to February. GTA 5 update adds anti-cheat to GTA Online as Red Dead Redemption PC rumors ramp up. And finally, Unity has officially canceled its runtime fee policy for game makers.
A lot of good stuff in there. A lot of layoffs, unfortunately. I did want to hit EA will continue to support The Sims 4 rather than make Sims 5. EA is like, it's making money. We'll just keep selling packs, because it's just like hiring somebody. It's easier. It's cheaper to keep somebody than find someone new. Hire someone, and that is the same way with games. It's easier to keep a game going for a long time and put out new content than build a game from the ground up.
Right. So
yeah.
So it's strange because I guess this is off the heels of Bungie saying, "Oh, Destiny 3 is not happening. We're just going to keep focusing on Destiny 2." So, but like you said, unlike Destiny 2. Sims 4 has been successful, so it's like, keep stoking that fire. Like, why fix a good thing if it doesn't need to be fixed?
Yeah. Murdoch says we have a girl at work that's a Sims fan. She's on Sims 4 too. Like, they're constantly putting out stuff, and that game is super expensive if you get all the DLC, all the packs, all of that. Like, it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it's kind of crazy what they're doing. Red Dead on PC. So, like, that's the first one, right? Not the second one?
It didn't. How about this? The headline didn't specify, and I didn't. So,
all right, we're
I feel like the first one's come to PC.
Yeah. I'm looking it up. Of course, Steam will want me to verify my age.
Right.
And all that, view page. It's crazy when 2025 or 2002 is old enough for me to get into it. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is already on the page, but it's definitely Red Dead Redemption, the
first one?
The first one.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So
I get it. I get it. It's a good thing because I know there are still fans of the first game, but also I feel like they also missed their window to do that because Red Dead, why would you undercut the legs? Like, now, unless Red Dead 2 is not doing what it needs to, which is fair, but it's like, why would you go back and add the first one after it's been over?
Dude, Red Dead Redemption it feels different than 2. Like, it is not as, like, Red Dead Redemption 2 is great, but it feels slightly more arcadey, closer to Red Dead Revolver. Not all the way. Not all the way. Red Dead Revolver was way more arcadey, but Red Dead Redemption is definitely suspends realism a little bit more than the second one.
True.
Yeah, I agree, Murdoch. I hope it will have a graphic overhaul. And I'm sure if it doesn't, modders will get on that and make it look beautiful. Yeah. I would play Red Dead Redemption 1 again, and I don't play old games. I am of the thought old games old. Got too much to play. Well, everybody, that does it for this episode of the NerdCave News. We will be live Tuesday. We're going to be playing some more games. We'll be doing, of course, NerdCave News next Thursday. And then Saturday, September 28th, we are going to be doing Eat, Sleep, Anime. We'll announce the time that we're going to be doing that. And Derek is going to be in person for that episode. So it's going to be a great one. You don't want to miss it. And that will be exclusively live over on our Patreon account. So go grab a membership over there. Support us to keep the lights and the mics on. Make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button. This has been Zach
and Kazimar.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye.